Let's look at the trend viewer within Connect Data Services, a quick way to visualize and gain insights from the real-time data that you're syncing up to the cloud. Now, you can access the trend viewer from Connect Data Services by going to Visualization and Trend. You can also access it via the Asset Explorer or the Sequential Data Store page, but we'll get to that later. Now, as soon as you have data right up in the cloud, if folks immediately want to inspect any of that data, zoom into it, look at any of the real-time values, they can do that right here within the trend viewer. And I want to take you on a little tour through the different options, capabilities you have right within this page. This page is available right through the portal. There's no software to install. If there's people who want a quick view into different data points coming from on-premises, they can absolutely get this from the Connect Data Services trend viewer. There's no per user licensing on this, so anyone in your organization who has the ability to access Connect Data Services can sign right on in and view any of the data that's being synced up to the cloud and that their account has permissions for. Now, just taking you on a quick tour through what you see here, there's a couple different pieces. Right here in the middle, this is what we call the trend pane. It's going to display all the selected traces down here that you have. You can see that it's got line traces here for numeric data, but also heat map traces here for string or enumerated data as well. Now, there's different modes for this. Mode selectors in the top left. I can see all these as a stacked trend, as a single axis, or you can see this on multiple axes. So you can easily change your mode here in the top left. Now, let's talk about cursors. You can see when I'm moving my mouse cursor through these, there's something special about this. A little indicator appears with a plus button at the top. If I set a cursor, it instantaneously shows me what those current values are at that moment in time, so I don't need to inspect it. I can save that for later. But watch what happens when I do two cursors. You can see now it's actually giving me minimum, maximum, average, and delta between these ranges, which is amazingly helpful. So if individuals are looking to say, what was the max in this time range, the average, the delta, they zoom into that range, they drop two cursors, and they can immediately see what that calculated summary is. Now, let's talk about time ranges. I talked about zooming in. There's a couple different ways that you can change the time range. One of the quickest down here is using the time range picker. There's some quick ranges right here for you. Last 5 minutes, 8 hours, previous week, etc. Or you can hit custom range and specify a specific absolute range as well. Now, a quick note about the way that Connect Data Services works. Here I'm looking at streams and asset properties from within a namespace. Now, your Connect Data Services is going to start with just one namespace. You might have multiple, and this transition is within the namespace I've currently selected. So if I have multiple namespaces and I want to change them, I would click right up here to change that namespace. Now, right below this, there's another button called Reset. This wipes everything, removes my cursors, removes all my traces. Let me start over with a brand new canvas here to start working with. But right next to it is the Share button. This is amazingly useful. So if I hit Share, it's going to preserve the traces, the cursors, all of my different view configuration settings. Basically, if you find an interesting insight here and you want to share it with someone else in your organization, you can hit the Share Trending Session button. And it'll preserve all this, generate this as a URL that then they can go to their browser and they can paste right in here. You can see it's got that copied for me, and it'll bring up an exact copy of everything we're seeing right here. Amazingly useful for doing collaboration. You find an interesting moment, you save your trend session, you share it with someone else. You've got multiple people across your organization all collaborating, all looking at the same data. Now, there's a couple other pieces I want to point out while we're here. In the far right here, this piece is what we call the Add Traces pane. So right now I'm looking at a couple different traces: my bearing temperature, current draw, discharge flow rate, pump status for PS0. If I wanted to add any other streams here, I could add these as well. I just hit the little plus button, so that's how I added these. I can hit the little remove icon right here to remove them if I want. The legend pane at the very top shows me, it's this symbol right here, shows me current timestamps, values, UOMs, mins, max, averages, totals for the data that I'm selecting. And then of course down below, I've got the cursor view, which shows me computed summary statistics between my cursors. And then finally, if folks say, okay, I like this, but I want to get rid of my cursors, you can just hit at the very top, you can hit delete the little X, and it will remove these cursors as well. So you can either add them, you can have multiple sets of cursors, you can delete them, arrange this canvas exactly the way you want. Now, there's another capability right within here as well that I also want to point out. You notice here on the right-hand side, I mentioned that you can drag on assets or stream properties. So if you have individual streams, you want to search for an individual stream in your sequential data store, you can absolutely do that. or if you've created assets, you can drag those on. But something has appeared since I have dragged on properties from an asset, and I just want to show you what that happens. So since I have multiple different assets, I've got my PS0, PS1. If I look, for instance, and change the search to look for PS and PS asterisk, you can see I've got multiple different pieces of equipment, PS0, 1, 2, multiple others here. And since they all use a template, I can actually reuse this same canvas, the same workspace right here, using the swap asset button. So this is amazingly useful. Let's say I uncover a piece of equipment. Let me change this. And let's say I'm interested in this moment of downtime for this pump. So I'll put cursors here and I'll take a look at summary statistics computed over it. But I'll take a note of this time range and I say, did this affect any other pumps that I have? So when I go back to the main view, I can hit swap asset and it'll detect all the other assets that match this asset template. Let me look at PS4. Nope, it looks like PS4 was a little bit earlier. Let me look at PS1. Okay, PS1 lines up a little bit more closely. Incredibly easy for me to save all the work that I have here and toggle in between different assets. Now, again, when I keep talking about assets, I mentioned how there's other ways of launching this and how we can get to this from the Asset Explorer and also from the Sequential Data Store, and I'll cover that briefly too. So in case you're wondering how you get here, again, we went to Visualization and Trend. If we go to the Asset Explorer, we can do this as well. So let me go back and let me look, for instance, at an asset that I wish to inspect. So in my case, I want to look at my piece of rotating machinery, properties, and let me look at my X, Y, and Z acceleration. And I can say, you know what, I want to look at this over the last 5 minutes. You'll see identical controls here, the same ability to pull up quick ranges, set custom ranges. This will actually launch an instance of the trend viewer right in here. I can hit the little view full trend button, and it'll drop me right into a trend session where I'm looking at those exact same assets. So again, it takes me here. I can just set this to be stacked. I can start dropping cursors. I can zoom in. And for instance, in case anyone's curious how to zoom in, you hit the zoom in button, drag a window, and there you go. So again, an amazing tool for answering questions. People are looking at data. Someone says, you know what, I need to know the value of this particular piece of equipment. Maybe I don't have access to on-premises. Maybe I can't quickly access the SCADA or the PLC. If that data is being sent to Connect Data Services, it takes hardly any time at all. You sign into Connect Data Services, you get to Trend, you search for the properties of the asset or the stream you want to look at, or even quicker, you go to Visualization, Asset Explorer, go to the piece of equipment you're looking for, and start trending it there. I can say, hey, let me look at my instantaneous power data. Let me go to properties, let me go down, scroll a little bit, look at my power value, perfect. Now I can say, hey, what was my current peak over a certain time range? Excellent. I'll say, you know what, let me zoom in and say, what was my maximum power demand there? And sure enough, if it really is very important for me to answer this, I can say, hey, my maximum power over this was 3,599 watts. Excellent. I answered the question. I used my Connect Data Services data infrastructure to deliver this data to me with the answer that I needed. Now I can get on with the rest of my day. Final thing, there's another way to access this. Again, I went through Visualization Asset Explorer. The last one is right here through the Sequential Data Store. If you go to the Sequential Data Store, of course, you see a list of all streams being sent up to the cloud. Right here, you can also view data on a trend. So I can scroll down a little bit. I can look at PS0's bearing temperature, click it. As soon as I do, I see properties of that stream, but I can also just hit view and trend. And it'll take me right there. Perfect. And sure enough, now I'm looking at that particular stream and all of its properties too, the value, the system state code, the digital state name. So the trend viewer within Connect Data Services, an amazingly quick way of, as soon as you have values right up in the cloud, as soon as they make it to your Sequential Data Store, anyone who has permissions and access to Connect Data Services can simply use the cloud portal, sign in, create their quick trends, zoom in on time ranges, drop their cursors, answer their questions, and make a data-driven decision using the Connect Data Services platform. Trend Session is an amazingly useful way of getting those quick insights. Now for folks who want to see richer dashboards and create composable displays with symbols and layouts, there's absolutely a tool for this. That is Connect Visualization Services, and we'll be getting into that in another video. Thank you.